Hello everyone, welcome back to Amy's Bookshelf. So today I want to give you 3 book recommendations specifically for something I learned about a couple of years ago now, which is called Jólabókaflóðið. I hope I've pronounced that correctly, which is an Icelandic tradition. I feel like this information goes round every Christmas. People post about it on social media because it is a really cute idea and it's a tradition that I think is really special and amazing, and I think more people and more countries should do it. So I really want to embrace it this year. So I want to give everybody some recommendations to read for Jólabókaflóðið. Now, I'm going to explain a little bit more about what that is, but I know myself very well and I'm not good at remembering and then regurgitating information. So rather than trying to memorise everything about Jólabókaflóðið, I thought instead I could just read from the website for you so you can understand a little bit more about what it is. So reading from the website is their founding story. And like I said, it is an Icelandic tradition, so a lot of people in Iceland do it, but I think we should all be doing it a bit more. Jólabókaflóðið translates roughly into English as the Christmas book flood, which already is an amazing title for something. The tradition began during World War II, once Iceland had gained its independence from Denmark in 1944. Paper was one of the few commodities not rationed during the war, so Icelanders shared their love of books even more as other types of gifts were a short supply. This increase in giving books as presents reinforced Iceland's culture as a nation of bookaholics. Every year since 1944, the Icelandic book trade has published a catalogue called the Book Bulletin. This is sent to every household in the country in mid-November during the Reykjavik Book Fair. People use the catalogue to order books to give friends and family for Christmas. During the festive season, gifts are opened on the 24th of December, and by tradition, everybody reads the books they have been given straight away, often while drinking hot chocolate or alcohol-free Christmas ale called Jólabland. So that's amazing. So in conclusion, Jólabókaflóðið is basically the tradition of giving and receiving books for Christmas and opening them on Christmas Eve and reading the books in a cosy setting with a hot chocolate on Christmas Eve, and frankly I think it's something we should all be doing. So back to my recommendations. I have 2 Christmas, very much like 2 Christmassy books, and then one book that isn't Christmassy but I think really embraces everything that I think a book should be for Jólabókaflóðið. So hopefully you like the sound of these books. You can maybe pick some of your own to do this year, or maybe it'll be one of these recommendations. But yeah, like I said, I think it's something we all should be embracing more. So I'll start with the non-Christmassy one, and that is Claire Keegan's Small Things Like These. Now I read this 3 months ago now, I think, and I should say as well, all of these books are really short. I've only included books that you can feasibly read in a day. I know everybody's reading speeds are different and not everybody can read a book in one day, but all of them are under 200 pages. Actually, that's not true. One of them is over 200 pages, but it has pictures. I'll get to that later. But they are all, it's feasible to be able to read this in one day. So going back to Claire Keegan. So yeah, Small Things Like These was a book I read, probably 3 months ago now. It's set in Ireland and it mainly focuses on the history in Ireland, specifically to do with Magdalen laundries. Now, Magdalen laundries were these establishments that I think were started in the 18th century and weren't abolished until the 20th century, and they were essentially places where women who had no other place to go would be housed, but unfortunately while there they would suffer quite a lot of abuse. The conditions there were really poor. It wasn't a good place to be living, and there were, I think relatively recently, mass graves uncovered near some of these laundries of women's bodies. So really horrific places. Now this book doesn't just focus on one of those laundries. So our main character, Bill Furlong, is an older guy. He's a little bit, I picture him sort of a little bit grumpy, a little bit quiet, introverted, and he essentially uncovers something that starts a chain of events in his life and in the town's life as well, to do with these Magdalen laundries. I keep going to say libraries and it's not a library. Anyway, so yeah, like I said, our protagonist Bill Furlong is a bit of a grumpy guy, but he is really likeable, really lovable, and he is the main focus of the book. Now, the reason I want to recommend this for Jólabókaflóðið is that I think it's such an immersive and atmospheric read. It really has that sort of like cozy feel to it, although the subject matter isn't cozy in that it's not like a cozy romance or something, but it's cozy in that it just feels so like you can picture the snowy day, the like frosty cold morning. You can picture what Bill's doing so vividly that I think it's just such a perfect read for this time of year, and especially for Christmas as well. The other reason I think it's perfect for Jólabókaflóðið and for Christmas generally actually is I think there's an overarching sentiment of hope in it, that really advocates for like the little people and the ordinary heroes, Bill Furlong potentially being one of them, and I think like an overarching sentiment of hope is something that we see a lot in a lot of like Christmas media, like films and books and stories generally, so that's why I think it fits this perfectly, even though it isn't technically a Christmas book. But yeah, this is one of my favourite books of this year. I really loved it. I think it was a perfect length as well, like it's only 114 pages, so it's really short, but it's like it's so snappy and it's just so intimate, and I think it's honestly a great book. So even if you don't read it for Christmas Eve, Jólabókaflóðið, you should read this anyway. Now on to our two Christmas books. The first one being A Boy Called Christmas by Matt Haig, and I literally read this like a week ago and I adored it. I think this book completely embodies what a Christmas story should be, and especially when we're talking about Christmas stories that talk about the origins of Father Christmas, of how Santa Claus came to be, of anything to do with that. I think this book is perfect for it. So this one is set, I believe, in Finland. I actually can't remember. No, I think, yeah, no, it's Finland. And it is to do with a boy called Nicholas, whose dad nicknamed him Christmas because he was born on Christmas Day. Now, Nicholas lives in quite bad poverty with his father, and his mother died quite a few years previously, so it is just those two, and he also has a little mouse friend as well, because obviously you need an animal sidekick. And one day his dad gets an offer from somebody to go find the elves up north, and when they find these elves they'll get a big cash reward, because the elves are sort of like a folklore, nobody believes that they're real, but this group of men wants to go find them and prove that they are real and make a load of money from it, and obviously that would change Nicholas's life and his dad's life. Now Nicholas can't go with them on this exhibition because he's only very young, so his aunt comes to stay with him. His aunt is a horrible woman who hates children, hates Nicholas, treats him really poorly, he has to sleep outside. It goes from bad to worse very quickly, so Nicholas decides to follow his father up north and find out what he's doing. When he goes up north, his intention is to find his father, but what he finds up there instead is something I won't say because it spoils the book a little bit, but let's just say it starts with a chain of events and we see Nicholas become the Father Christmas that we recognise today. So yeah, I thought this book was truly delightful. I think Matt Haig really captured the magic of Christmas, of like the sentiment, again going back to similarly with small things like these, the sentiment of hope, of nothing being impossible, of spreading joy throughout Christmas. I think there are just so many reasons to love it. It also has some amazing illustrations in it. I'll just show you some of them. There you go, you can see the little pictures, and this really is a book that it isn't for kids. Like, I think people see like pictures in books and they think, oh, that must be a kid's book, but I promise you this book is written for everybody. Like, kids can enjoy it, adults can enjoy it, you can enjoy it together. It really is a book for everybody. And so this one is 262 pages, but honestly there are so many pictures that it's more like a 150 page book, and you can get through it quite quickly because of the pictures. Obviously you want to look at the pictures, but what I'm saying is that it is a book you can read in a day, because the number of pages with text on them is probably only 150 to 200. So yeah, definitely can read it on Christmas Eve if you want to read it for Jólabókaflóðið, or just read it around Christmas in general. I was so happy I finally got to read this, and yeah, it's now one of my favourite Christmas books. I'm going to try and watch the film adaptation as well because I bet it is gorgeous. Okay, and finally a familiar author to many of my followers if you've heard me talk about him at all, and that is The Deal of a Lifetime by Fredrik Backman. Now, I'm just going to sound like a broken record here, but again, this book is just such a beautiful embodiment of everything that I think is good about Christmas. It really embodies the idea of spreading joy, of being hopeful, and it just makes your like heart feel so warm inside. It's like a hug in a book. Now, if you've read any Fredrik Backman, you will know that he is not one to mince his words. The writing in this, just like the writing in all of his other books, is really, really beautiful. And similarly to A Boy Called Christmas, this one also has some illustrations. Not quite as many, but there are a few. And this one you can get through really quickly. So this is 65 pages, but again, there's probably only about 50 with words on them. So it's one you could probably read in one sitting if you read relatively quickly or want to sit down for a few hours and just immerse yourself in this book. I actually read this with my friend last year. We started a tradition a couple of years ago where on Christmas Eve, it's actually not Jólabókaflóðið, but it's kind of like our Jólabókaflóðið. We don't give the books to each other, we do buy them ourselves, but we then will buddy read it at the same time. So we don't spend Christmas together, but in our separate houses, we'll set ourselves like page goals and read to that and then discuss it over text and then carry on. So we read it together, which I think is really lovely. So that's something you can also do to celebrate like the idea of Jólabókaflóðið. And I think this is a perfect book to do it with. Now, this is a sort of a tricky book to give you like the plot of or tell you the synopsis, because it's so short that anything I say will kind of just be telling you what's in the book. But I would say it very much focuses on like a father-son relationship. The beginning of the book is about a father and son meeting for the first time in years and discussing what has happened and their relationship and how, you know, they came to be where they are now. It also focuses on a little girl in hospital and the events that surround that. And there's just a lot of emotion in this book. Like I said, Backman is not one to shy away from pulling at your heartstrings, and this is definitely no different. And I think this, again, you can tell by the front cover, but it's definitely one that is meant to be read at Christmas, because I really do think that it is just perfect for this time of year. Fabulous. Okay, well, that was just my 3 recommendations. There are so many books that I'm sure would be perfect for Jólabókaflóðið, and I really hope that it is something you can embrace, if not this year, maybe next year. Maybe you can like plan a book to give to a friend or a loved one, and then you can read it together like me and my friend do. But I just think it's such a beautiful tradition, and I love books a lot, obviously, and I think that Christmas is the perfect time to celebrate them. So let me know if you are going to do it this year, or maybe you're going to do it another year, or if you just like the idea of it, because I think it's really beautiful. I hope you like this video. I'm going to hopefully have some more Christmassy recommendations for you soon, and then in the final few days of December I'll hopefully have out some like yearly wrap-ups for you, so you can see what books I loved this year, which books I hated, how many books I read, and I'll give you a bit of a breakdown of like all of my books from 2023. I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye!